All right, all right. What's going on, everybody? It is Truth and Telos Ministries. Going to do a live stream today. Be here for about I don't know. We'll try to do 2 hours or so. Really wanting to get some Catholics in here to step on up to the plate, see if they can defend their doctrine. We are talking about the paganism of Mariology. So Revelation 12 is not about Mary. I will debate any Catholic on that. Very simply destroy them. And then once they get destroyed on that, they need to go and look at every single other thing that they, think that they know. These people that were, the quote unquote church fathers, a lot of them had no idea what they were talking about. Which it's not the most simple idea for a non-Jew to grasp. So to know that there were some wrong doctrines that were brought up, hey, it's part of it, right? But we do have the true Word of God, and we do know that using the book, the good book, we can prove Catholicism might not be the way, right? That they like to claim it is. So we've got got an open backstage here. It's a Saturday evening, so shouldn't be any reason why we can't get some people in here to at least try and talk about it. While we're doing that, let's see what we got here. See what's going on in the world. Okay, so let's take a look here.
Oopsie.
Trump said that they were going to give 2 weeks. Okay, turns out the 2 weeks was like
2:30 a.m. in Iran. That's 7 p.m. Eastern time. Wow. So again, let me just say that again. The New York Times is reporting that several Iranian officials think that Fordo and Natanz were bombed around 2:30 a.m. in Iran, which would be 7 p.m. Eastern time, which would be about an hour and a half ago. About an hour and a half ago. Hey, thanks so much to our moderators. I really appreciate all of our moderators who are here. Let me just shout them out real quick. Beth Mythical is here. RJ. Wow.
One main thing to note too, actually, when it comes to this, is that this is not the fulfillment of any kind of biblical prophecy. Just so everybody's aware of that. They could bring out all the nukes for all we care. Okay. Yeah. not anything written in the Bible about this, but it is interesting to see developments here.
Twitch moderators, Big Ball of Yarn, De Bears, LB Prairie Dawn, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3, Sarah and Surly Dev, and our YouTube, our ex moderators, Linda Belk, Larry, Misha. Thank you so much. Let's just keep getting you updates here. What's Iran, or what is the Iranian response going to be to this? I still can't get True Social to work. You know what I should do? I should put up the red ticker. That's what I should do. I should put up the red ticker. I think it's red ticker time, guys. I think it's red ticker time. President Trump said the U.S. bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Fordo, Natanz, and it's Isfahan. He said Esfahan, so I'll say that. Esfahan. He will be addressing the nation at 10 p.m. ET. He said all planes are safely on their way home. All right, I'm getting this up in case I want to add anything to the ticker. Now let's put the ticker on, and I can take off the other thing. Who knows what's going to happen after this? Huge breaking news. Hang on a moment. OSIN Technical, who I follow, says I would not want to be on a tanker in the Strait of Hormuz right now. I want to check Iranian media too and see what we're seeing over there. There's just so much. I mean, this is just about as huge as it gets. The headline on the New York Times right now is U.S. enters war with Iran. That's the headline.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to check Israeli media too. By the way, for those who weren't around earlier, it has been over 24 hours since the last missile attack from Iran on Israel. Over 24 hours. Now, I don't know if that's because maybe they knew something was up with this. I don't know. One of our viewers thought that earlier. But I can say that Iranian state media has posted Trump's post. I just saw it on Iranian state media Mirror News. They have posted Trump's post. Again, he is speaking at 10 p.m. Let's see here. I'm literally just looking around trying to find updates for you guys right now. I mean, obviously, this is just enormous. And a really big, I mean, maybe the biggest question is, what does Iran do now? What does Iran do now? What does Iran do now? Former defense minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, posted and said, he's the former, I'm sure we'll hear from Netanyahu soon if we haven't already. Former defense minister Yoav Gallant in Israel said, President Trump took a bold decision for the United States, for Israel, for all of humanity. The world is now a safer place, he says. Yeah, how about Netanyahu? When are we going to hear from Netanyahu on this? I wonder if he'll wait to speak until Trump speaks. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican, says the regime in Iran, which has committed itself to bringing death to America and wiping Israel off the map, has rejected all diplomatic pathways to peace. The mullah's misguided pursuit of nuclear weapons must be stopped. As we take action tonight to ensure a nuclear weapon remains out of reach for Iran, I stand with President Trump and pray for the American troops and personnel in harm's way. Again, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour and 25 minutes, we will be hearing from President Trump. There's no the video, you're hearing noise in the background like wind and dogs barking. Those are from the different live cameras I have on. I can turn it off. I'd rather leave it on. That's how we've been leaving some of the audio on from the live cameras. ABC News, multiple outlets are saying that the U.S. told Israel in advance about the strike, which I certainly would have expected to happen. And again, the New York Times reports that Iranian officials told them that this happened, or that two of the sites, including Fordo, were attacked around 2:30 local time, which would have been 7 p.m. Eastern time. Sarah Ferris with CNN says House Speaker Johnson was briefed prior to tonight's strikes, according to a person familiar. Hold on a second here. State media, Iranian state media reports, I don't know if this is true. Iranian state media reports that Iran had evacuated the 3 nuclear sites some time ago. I don't know if that's true. That's what state media is saying in Iran. I kind of want to post the other post that he posted. Well, I'm going to leave that up there right now. Maybe I'll leave that up there right now. Unbelievable. What's going to happen next? Senator Tom Cotton, Republican, posted. Here is what Senator Tom Cotton had to say. Tom Cotton says, Iran has waged a war of terror against the U.S. for 46 years. We could never allow Iran to get nuclear weapons. God bless our brave troops. President Trump made the right call, and the Ayatollahs should recall his warning not to target Americans. Jake says, nobody even knows what to say. The whole world is shook. Senator Roger Wicker posted and said, he's a Republican, I believe, Roger Wicker. Yes. Our commander-in-chief has made a deliberate and correct decision to eliminate the existential threat posed by the Iranian regime. We now have very serious choices ahead to provide security for our citizens and our allies and stability for the Middle East. Well done to our military personnel. You're the best. At some point, there will be videos. There's definitely going to be satellite footage of this. I would not be surprised at all if the U.S. has video footage of these attacks on these targets. President Trump will be speaking in 1 hour and 19 minutes. 1 hour and 19 minutes. Yeah, one of our viewers said, how's Russia going to react? How's everybody going to react? I still can't. Oh, True Social is now working again for me. President Trump reposted a post 36. I know a bunch of you know this. President Trump reposted a post 36 minutes ago from somebody else that just said Fordo is gone. So he reposted that, and he posted here, you can see, I will be giving an address to the nation at 10 p.m. at the White House regarding our very successful military operation in Iran. This is an historic moment for the U.S. of the United States of America, Israel, and the world. Iran must now agree to end this war. He says, Iran must agree to end this war. Thank you. Yes, of course, we will definitely have the speech. Yeah, one of our viewers said if they don't, it's not clear to me what happens next. If Iran, I guess, doesn't, I don't know what they need to do to end the war specifically. That hasn't been said. if there are certain things they need to agree to, and if they don't, what happens? Wow. What's going to happen now? I have no idea where this is all going. I have no idea where this is all going. And I don't think anyone does, because first of all, nobody knows how Iran is going to react. And not just tomorrow, long term. Let me say a couple quick thank yous really quick, as I want to get back to the news. I'm not going to be able to thank everybody, I don't think, but really quick. Floppy Discus, Sweet Sassy Molassy, Tallulah Abel, Dream Squad HD, Serena, Red Squirrel, Brian Carter, Zach Hudson, Greg Berry, MVT Hoft, Just Mike, Kate89, Regular Joe, Street Guru, John Oliver, Lee Salmonin, Julius, Brad Boda, Louis Bilbrout, Scrappy O, a couple more, Portex 7, Star Lord, Sean, Eminar, Barb Mac, Alex Glans, BZRN, Zach Hudson, Machiavelli Sucks, AMT, NMCT, Mitchell Pilot, Shackle Text, TMS, Salamander Wilds, John Root, Tubular Mindwave, William C. Pineapple Water, Joshua, Anthony Childers, Carzar, J-Man, Timothy Creed, YKA, Robert Farrow, a few more, Andrew Devon, Adventures with Crystal, PZ Papa Zulu, Jules, Susanna Branch, Sunflower, Teresa Vladinator, OU Mike, Javier Lane, YKA. All right, I'll have to get to some more later. AKF, Tex-Mex, Billy Cusack. Thank you guys for your support. I'll get to Twitch soon as well. But trying to just bring you the latest updates here. So bear with me. Nothing from the Pentagon at the moment. So Dan Lamothe, who is with the Washington Post, military affairs correspondent, says, no statement yet from the Pentagon, nothing. The only thing from the Pentagon is that Pete Hegseth reposted Donald Trump's post, but we have no announcement yet. I don't know that there's been any other statement in the government except for Trump's 2 posts on Truth Social. No official government statement, Trump administration statement. Wow. So presumably, we heard B-2 bombers. Fordo was buried in a mountain. So presumably there were a bunch of these bunker buster bombs that had never been used in combat, used on Fordo, the most important nuclear site of Iran. And they also attacked Natanz and Isfahan. Now, Natanz had been attacked by, both Natanz and Isfahan had been attacked by Israel previously in the last week, but I know Natanz has a significant underground component, and it wasn't clear how much damage had been done at Natanz. Various buildings had been attacked at the Isfahan complex, but I mean, it seems like maybe these, I would assume that these were that the attacks by the U.S. on Natanz and Isfahan were much greater than what Israel has done. That'd be my assumption, but I don't know right now. Thanks, by the way, on Twitch to Devil Doc, CC Suburban, I Do Kill, Tribal Convictions, Morgund, Pragmatic Realist, C-Stan, Lala, Carp DM, Justin D. Winters, Texas O. Buck, Guy from the 207, Chi-Town Deke, Jan T, couple more here, Big Dog Gaming, Gonzalez, thank you, Fun Size Smurf, Slang and Rock, thanks over there on Twitch. We're bringing you the latest updates here. Very little has like really come out about this so far. Just all of a sudden, this post just came out. Now, another thing to think about is Iran. How quickly or not quickly might Iran's response be? I mean, you know, in Iran, they didn't know what was going to happen for sure. So they might want to I'm guessing there's going to be some discussion of what to do. Did they have things in place? Are they worried if they respond right away that, you know, Israel and the U.S. will be ready to attack them or something? I don't know. So did Iran have some sort of plan in place to respond if Fordo got attacked? I mean, they've known for a while that Fordo could get attacked. Keep an eye on the Strait of Hormuz, shipping. Epon says maybe they need to assess the damage. E. Cesares says, I still can't believe this. But this is again, it's not what happens in the next hour. For all I know, Iran will respond to this in some way in a week or 2 weeks. And also, how does this change how other countries think about the U.S., other countries in the Middle East? What impact does it have on the Iranian regime? We just don't know. If the Iranian, some experts have thought that this whole thing, if the regime survived, would make the regime, after it's done, secretly go as fast as they can to get a nuclear weapon.
Well. Again, it's not anything super surprising. And again, this is not any kind of biblical prophecy being fulfilled, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll see what all the talking heads on YouTube have to say about that, all the dispies and so on and so forth. Matter of fact, let's take a look and see. See what's here. If we go live. Just try to see if anybody is live right now talking about this. Not anything yet. At least that I can see. Looking at somebody had gone live, but
the new covenant. The new covenant is different than the old covenant.
You're assuming the covenant's about salvation. You're trying to prove how did you say that? You're assuming the thing you're trying to prove or whatever.
The whole book of Hebrews is about Jesus coming as the priest to die for our sins. What do you mean?
I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that. I'm talking about the covenant. the berith, or the diatheke, as it's used in the Greek. That is not a covenant in the context. You should know from Old Testament. Scott Hahn wrote the article in the Lexham Bible Dictionary on covenants about berith and all of that. They're based on the land grants, suzerain vassal treaties. It's master-servant relationship. It's not about salvation.
That's no, that is a lie. That is just total heresy that the covenant is not about salvation.
Well, then we could debate that one next if you ever want to debate me again.
Oh yeah, Donnie.
But let's try to get down to what we can in this one. What I already gave you an answer for this passage of why this is not referring to salvation from hell.
You think just because you gave an answer, I'm going to accept it? No way.
You think
Why is Amazon paying me $600 a day? Because I use Amazon AI.
Oh, no, that's a problem. I understand that. There's a lot of answers I don't accept from Protestants. So I want you to go where the truth's at.
Yeah, okay. So let's keep going. Verse 18.
So I guess this is a debate that's coming up with Charles, Layman's Seminary, and Chris Lucas, the Protestant view. Actually, I think what sparked this debate was my debate with Charles last Saturday, where, he was saying covenants aren't about salvation, and it's just the stupidest shit I've ever heard. But let's see. And again, link is pinned. Any Catholics that want to come defend their paganism, we can talk Mariology. Let's talk Revelation 12, Genesis 3:15. We'll go there with that.
6, it says, but now has he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also is he the mediator of a better covenant,
Right.
is established on better promises. It's just continuing from chapter 7 and showing us what Jesus did. He made a new covenant for salvation.
I don't think you understood what I said in my opening. The basis of Christ's death is soteriological, but the covenant itself is sociological. The covenant itself is not salvation. Christ, because of his death, has inherited all this responsibility, Melchizedek and priesthood and all of that, and the blessings flow to us because of that. But that's not salvation in itself.
No, it is salvation. Okay, that's what the whole basis of the Bible is, that Jesus came with.
No, that's your assumption. You're sounding like a covenant theologian. You might as well believe in unconditional election at that point.
No, I don't believe in that either, because that's not.
I know you don't. But you should, if you're going to accept the Bible's all about salvation.
I just find it hard to believe that you guys can come up to the conclusion that the new covenant is not about salvation. It's a sociological term. That is absolutely ridiculous.
It might be. It might not float, but that's my thesis.
Might not float. Yeah, it doesn't float.
Your assertion that it don't float doesn't sink it, though. Other people are going to take this ball and run with it. I'm just trying to break the ground.
Yeah, you can do that, but
all right,
you're not going to get it by me. Okay,
no problem.
That's for sure.
Donnie, do you have anything you want to press me on?
Donnie, how much time do I have, Donnie?
Well, we've got exactly 7 minutes, and I thought maybe in the last 7 minutes we could have you press Charles a bit on some James 2 points.
Yeah. First, I want to, it's related to James 2.
Sure, yeah, no problem.
Okay, Donnie, did David lose his justification in Romans 4? Is that what Paul's saying?
No, he didn't lose his justification.
All right. Well,
I don't believe justification can be lost.
Oh, okay. So what did David lose? What put him in his predicament that he was in?
He was just out of fellowship with God.
Oh, okay. So when Nathan came to him and said, "You are the man," and David's, crying about his sin to God, hoping he forgives him, he was just out of fellowship with God?
Yeah, and in danger of receiving divine discipline, including tearing of the kingdom away from him.
Okay. and he has nothing to worry about his eternal salvation.
No, I
Then
don't
what
think
is Paul-
I don't
what
think
is-
very many Old Testament saints thought about heaven. They didn't
So-
think like us.
So what is Paul all worried about in Romans 4 when he's trying to tell us how we become justified by not putting God into debt, by repenting of our sins without doing works, all that kind of stuff? Why is that such a big topic if David just lost fellowship with God?
Based on the inclusions of Romans at the beginning and in chapter 16, the obedience of faith to the Gentiles, Paul is seeking to promote practical reconciliation for the Jews that are coming back after they were scattered underneath Claudius, and that includes the Jewish Christians and the Roman Christians. And he does that by inviting them to participate in blessings of the Abrahamic covenant. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to motivate them to have the right attitude to receive from the Lord and to work with them so that they can inherit the world to come, just as Abraham is, as it talks about in this passage.
So what is justification to you then?
Participating in the Abrahamic blessings.
And what are they?
The Abrahamic covenant, Genesis 15, land, seed, and blessing. That includes spiritual blessings as well as geophysical blessings, but the geophysical blessings will be in the future.
Yeah, and that's where you make your mistake, because that was already fulfilled according to Nehemiah chapter 21, verse 45. All the land that was designated to Israel through the promise to Abraham was already fulfilled. I would suggest you read that, 43 to 45.
Maybe that'd be a future debate.
Yeah.
Did you mention that in your Phelim debate?
My what?
Your Phelim and Fallon debate? Did you mention that passage in that debate?
Yeah, I think I did, along with
all right, I'll study that.
Nehemiah chapter 9, verses 7 and 8, and 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 56. All of them say that the land that was promised was fulfilled to the T. There's not one thing that God left out of that.
Yeah, that same words occur in Joshua, where it says not one of the words of his promise fell to the ground. And this has been a simple explanation. Like if somebody says, hey, I'm going to pay for your seminary education, that means the whole 4 years or whatever. But if they come to me after 1 year and they say, I have been faithful to my promises, and I say, you're absolutely right, not one word has fallen to the ground, it doesn't mean that the full tuition has been paid for.
Oh, come on. Give me a break. God doesn't work that way. He doesn't
That's
say,
your assumption.
I'm going to pay for your education, and then after 1 year come back to you and say, sorry, I'm not going to pay for the next 3 years.
That's not what I said. I said he comes to you emphasizing his faithfulness and providing for you. So the issue is,
but he reneged on his promise.
Just because it's a partial fulfillment does not mean it's a total fulfillment. God didn't renege on his promises. You're not reading that right.
Is a total falsity.
Well, then you got more debate, right?
This is why you don't know what the covenant is, because you keep saying it's a land promise given to Israel, and it's somehow going to be fulfilled in the future. No, it's already been fulfilled. And so that takes your land thing off the equation.
No, it doesn't.
And now you're left with salvation. That's the issue. Salvation in eternity. That's been the issue in Christendom since the apostles.
No, it became everybody was keyless until Augustine allegorized, and then now we have y'all. So you're right. The issue is allegorization. I mean, and eschatology. But guess what? This debate is not about that. So
why?
But do you understand how my eschatology affects my soteriology and my hagiology?
Yeah,
and as well as my meritocracy. The merits.
They're all wrong.
Well, then we got a whole marathon of debates to go forward, because I want to uncover every stone. Maybe you're going to write your next book, not by inheritance alone or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I would say this. Your view of dispensationalism that's clouding every other passage you look at in the New Testament came along when Darby decided that the Jews are, God's chosen people, and we have to make a place for them.
I think, you're shifting the debate.
The whole Bible to make place for the Jews now.
Yeah.
And that way.
See, the thing is, that statement about Darby's not even correct. You need to study about Gehr's and his influence on things that existed. In fact, it could be argued that dispensationalism existed before covenant theology, and if it's biblical, it existed in the first century.
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay, so basically, I wish I could just debate Charles on just Daniel 9, but he seemed to want like he's scared to, and it's like it's kind of frustrating because it answers every single question, everything he brings up, everything Charles like, oh, debate me on that, debate me on it. Just debate us on Daniel 9, debate me on just Daniel 9. Because it's like, honestly, this debate could just be changed up at the last minute just to be on Daniel 9. I'd be so happy about that because everything Charles is building on depends on him being able to prove that his interpretation of Daniel 9 is correct. All of his dispensationalism does not exist without that view of Daniel 9 being about an Antichrist. But once you talk about that and that covenant, you start to admit that that covenant is about salvation that's spoken of in there. Now, everything Charles just said to him, all this exchange is just now clarified one way or another, right? Because then Charles has got a leg to stand on. And if not, then, hey, you toss out everything that Robertson Genis just said, right? So if Charles can just prove it, and I wish he would just debate on it. And for some reason, no, it's like he wants to debate on all these other things that depend on him being right, but he doesn't want to depend on the one thing that he's depending on being right. It's that he needs all these other things to stand on. It's kind of like, to me, it's one of the most frustrating things. It's like let's say you're hearing all these like expert architects talking about this grand structure they're going to build, and you're wasting all these people's time listening, and none of them are acknowledging the foundation. Like, you have to talk about the foundation and have to acknowledge what that foundation is. Because if one person's like, hey, that's water though, well, you got to build something totally different on water than something that you're building on land, right? If you're going to build a house on water, it's got to be totally different than one built on land. And so, but if you're just sitting there talking about like, oh, I'm going to build the bottom out of cement and all this other stuff, and this is going to be about a 30-foot high building, and we're going to, but yet the water is 100 feet deep. Right? It's like, well, you need to talk about how that structure is going to stand on water, or whatever structure you're going to build it on. You can't build like an extra heavy structure on straw, right? So it's like you got to talk about the building materials and everything. But see, if you're spending hours talking about the building materials, the cost, everything you're going to build on it, but you don't talk about the structure, it's like, you got it's, and then it's like, oh, I'm such an expert builder, but you're not even acknowledging the structure. It's like, come on, man, like, just debate Daniel 9. But I'm gonna try to force this debate into that Daniel 9 because I want to end all of this nonsense. And he should want to debate it. He should be like, yeah, because why are you sitting here acting like your theology has any merit if you can't even, if you're sitting there going, well, you know what it says, I don't even know how to talk about it. What? Okay, if you don't even know how to talk about it, why don't you stop debating for a while and go study it and figure out how to explain that, since that's such a crucial chapter. Why don't you go sit there and study instead of getting involved in all these debates, posing and pretending like you know something, pretending like you're a seminary person, posing like you are a teacher, posing, just doing all this posing. But he just wants to keep posing and keep ignoring the issue. No, Charles, just debate me on that, man. I wish we could just debate on that, but no, I'm going to try my best to debate you on it. But we still got to actually debate on that because that's the core of it. Because it clearly says in verse 927, he will strengthen a covenant. That's clearly Jesus strengthening a covenant. That's clearly about salvation. So we are going to talk about it. And in fact, I mean, one of my posts I made, and this is his channel if anyone wants to go check it out. But one of the posts I made is, I wrote this thing. I don't know if anyone ever reads my description in YouTube, but I have written this. And 2 days ago, I said, in preparation for our upcoming debate against Charles Jennings of Layman Seminary this September, assuming he doesn't back out, I've been reviewing some of his past debates. One thing becomes very clear quickly. When pressed, Jennings often retreats into credentialism, appealing to seminary training or whatever authors he read instead of scripture. this is not a mark of someone who's winning a debate. It's a red flag. Then he also does that complicated stuff with languages, going, oh, that's positional salvation and that's experiential. And I don't even see where the Bible ever divides things up like that. But anyway, even more concerning is that he doesn't seem to grasp how covenant theology works from Genesis to Revelation. He makes the shocking claim that the covenant is not about salvation. But that's the very foundation of God's redemptive plan, from Noah to Abraham to Moses to David to the blood of Jesus. It's hard to overstate how damaging that statement is to his credibility. And he said it while posturing as the more qualified voice based on a seminary background. The key chapter for exposing the flaw in his thinking is Daniel 9. And surprisingly, he seems very hesitant to talk about this. This is like a Seventh-day Adventist dodging Daniel 8, right? Because everyone knows a Seventh-day Adventist, their whole church relies on Daniel 8 being correct in their view of Daniel 8 being correct. But yet that Seventh-day Adventists, which is another cult, I think dispensationalists are a cult. And they avoid talking about it. So here's the issue. So much of Jennings' theology rests on how he interprets Daniel 9. If he's wrong about that, everything else collapses. And he is wrong. Daniel 9:27 is clearly about the Messiah confirming a covenant with many, not some future Antichrist. The covenant causes sacrifice and offering to cease because they are fulfilled in him. That alone refutes his claim that the covenant is not about salvation. The entire list of goals in verse 24, to end sin, to atone for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, are fulfilled by the covenant the Messiah confirms or strengthens, the one he calls the new covenant in my blood. And I read you those passages earlier where Jesus says that. This simplifies the whole debate. There's no need for endless speculation. Just look at Daniel 9 in context and read it carefully. Yeah, Charles, do an inductive Bible study. He challenged me to a debate to debate the covenant. So I told him, great. Then we'll finally debate Daniel 9. He got nervous, and you can see this in his comment on, if you look at his recent debate versus Truth and Telos in the comment sections, we go back and forth. And so I told him, great, we'll finally debate Daniel 9. He got nervous. He should be, because if his understanding of Daniel 9 is off, then everything he's built, including his view of grace, salvation, and eschatology, is resting on a broken foundation or resting on no foundation. So it's collapsing and he doesn't even know it, right? It's just a lie. So he's just building lies. So he's a liar, and who's the father of lies? Satan, right? So because the only thing that can stand on a lie are more lies. And if everything you believe is a lie, you're not teaching anything of God. You're teaching of the devil. Right? So this is big and you need to address it. This isn't something you keep getting to run away from and pretending like you're right and posing like you're right and posing like you're a Christian and posing like you're a teacher. You don't get to keep posing. Stop posing. Debate this. So debates are limited in time. That's why Daniel 9 is the most efficient way to prove the covenant is central to salvation. And I plan to keep this grounded in the Old Testament, the only scriptures the early church had. Salvation came through the Jews. Jesus didn't start a new religion. He fulfilled a pre-existing one, right? So Christianity isn't a new faith. Christianity is the Jewish faith filled in Messiah. So we're not having this weird dispensational replacement theology, because that's kind of what it actually is when you really get down into it. It's replacement theology, just like the Roman Church is replacement theology. So that's why I wish it could just be just this, because just a debate on Daniel 9 alone proves every point I'm trying to make. Like, it proves covenants are about salvation. It proves whether or not his dispensationalism has any legs to stand on. It proves whether or not his free grace view has any leg to stand on. But see, at least once you admit that that salvation has to do with covenants, now you can actually engage with people and the points that Robert Sungenis and Truth and Telos are making. Now, maybe they're wrong about the way the covenant works, right? So I'm not saying I'm even right about the way the covenant works. But one thing that is clear is that the covenant is about salvation. But we have to establish that covenants are about salvation. Then we can start to establish what is required what's required within that covenant. So that's my show for today. I got to run to work. Later.
All right. Well, that is interesting. Required mailbox says where only the high priest had access to God, we all have access now. That is entirely correct. They said the Catholics adopted the same system that Jesus destroyed. That I don't know. I'm not too sure about that. I think that the problem with Catholicism is that it just relies too much on mankind's interpretation of things, and a lot of those early church fathers just didn't have it figured out, plain and simple. You know, we are 2,000 years removed from Christ Jesus walking the earth, and we have had 2,000 years to refine and understand what he said. So that's that. But yeah, so other than that, that's really all I've got then for today. No Catholics want to come up. They don't want to debate the paganism behind the Mariology. That's fine. We will find another one another day. So until next time, take it easy.